Hey folks, time to Moto Man here, back in the garage for another mod. Today we're going to be installing some bar risers on the Tiger 900 GT Pro. I'm putting these risers on because I'm a bit short in the arms, and after a long day's ride, it starts to bother my shoulders. I'm going to raise these guys up and bring them back a bit. I purchased the SW-MOTECH bar riser for the Tigers, 800, 900, 1200. These are the parts that I'm going to need. These are the 20mm spacers, which should give me enough. It'll come up a little bit and back a little bit, and I think I'll be much more comfortable after a long day's ride. They come with another set of bolts for the 800, but for the 900 and 1200 we're using these longer bolts. You'll need 8mm socket hex key and a 6mm socket hex key, as well as a torque wrench and a towel. The instructions are pretty simple. This is an easy install. The bolts for the 900 are going to be for the 800 XC and the 1200 Explorer. The Tiger 800 does come with shorter bolts, these guys here, which I will not be using. You only have to use the supplied bolts and then the OEM bolts for the bar clamps. Everything fits nicely. It's very simple. On the instructions, it does say that these should be tightened to OEM spec. And if there is not, then you can go at 46 Newton meters. I did find the specs for the Tiger 900. The front 10mm bolts are 35 Newton meters, and the back are 26 Newton meters. It's really difficult to find. I had to get a subscription for the Triumph maintenance website, which is like $8.32 per month. One thing to note, these are Hepco and Becker handlebar guards. So you will notice here, they actually don't clamp onto the bar, they clamp onto the risers, and they have an extra spacer here. So the bolts that come with SW-MOTECH, this bolt is not going to be long enough for my risers and this spacer for the handlebar guards. So unless I can find another bolt that is relatively inexpensive and not $25 per bolt, I'm probably just going to replace these guys with bark busters later on. And for now, I'm only going to install the front bolts without installing the handlebar guard front bolts. I'm just going to do the back bolts. I'm going to leave this one blank. The head will be right here. It should be enough clearance. Another thing to note is the indicator mark. It's a little plus sign there. So whenever you put your handlebars back, you want to make sure that that is lined up both along the side and along this seal. I'm going to take a before and after shot of me sitting on this thing. So as you can see, my arms are pretty much fully extended. There is no ability for me to kind of relax. So the entire time I'm riding, it's full extension. I'm leaning a little more forward than I'd prefer. So let's see if these things help that. So you might be wondering why I said you need a towel. It doesn't have to be a towel or something as awesome as this towel. Beautiful beach towel pattern. I wish I had a tiger pattern, but you know, this is what I got. Basically, once you loosen everything up, these bars are going to want to drop down, and I don't want it to scratch the paint, so that's all the towel's for. That and wiping the sweat from your brow because it's super hot, and I'm probably going to sweat even though this is an easy job. So with that said, let's get started. Alright, so the clamps are off. You can tell which ones are going in the front because of the diameter of each hole. These guys are just going to pull right off. May have to gently massage them a bit. This one is stubborn. There we go. So I'm going to clean that up, put the spacers on, make sure that everything is seated flush. As far as I can tell, there is no right and left, forward or back. They're both the exact same. So that's interesting. This side is way easier on my bike. And you can tell this piece here is a little bit smaller than this piece here. I feel like that should probably be expanded a little bit, just so this fits in a little more solidly. So I'm gonna just peel that back a little bit, very gently. It's a little bit more solid. This piece definitely requires some work. I'm going to take a socket and a mallet and gently tap. One thing to note here on these guys, you want to make sure that the larger bolt is in front. And there's only one hole here. They're pretty self-explanatory. Don't worry about it if you mix these things up, because it's easy to tell how you put them back. That's much higher. We'll see how that works. Loosen my handlebar guards so that I can easily put this on. Gonna put a smidge of some blue Loctite on these bolts, and per the manual it says these bottom bolts you put fresh engine oil on it. So I've got some medium strength Loctite on these bolts here in the front. Just want to tighten them hand tight for now. Since I decided to bypass the hole, the front hole on these handlebar guards, I can't very well put in the other bolt with the spacer and tighten this down. So I'm going to go ahead and torque these two down to spec, and then put my other ones in, and then make sure that I've got my indicator lined up correctly and tighten those down to spec. These front two 10 mil bolts are 35 Newton meters. These back two 8 millimeters are 26 Newton meters. Before tightening everything down, I checked the cables, moved the bars from side to side all the way to make sure there was no restrictions, and everything seems good. Nothing is pulling too tight. So I'm going to tighten these guys down a little bit, get them started, and then we'll torque everything down. I should mention, according to the service manual, you need to tighten these two bolts first, and then the back two. This should not have a gap, and the back will have a gap. Once I tighten this down, it'll be less of a gap, but the front should be flush and the back will have a little bit of a gap. So there we have it. Sides look pretty flush. That mark was exactly where the seal with the clamp and the riser is. There's a lot more clearance between the bars and the tank too. The bars used to be so low you could only fit like your finger through here. All the wires look good. Nothing is being pulled too tight. Same for this side. Feels pretty good. Whew. Well, that was a tough one. Not really. It was super easy. Without, you know, filming and all that stuff. It really just is like a half an hour job tops. Another mod done. We've definitely got some height now. Feels good when I'm sitting on it. I feel good about it. It even feels better when I'm standing because obviously the bars are taller. I don't have to lean down as much and worry about hitting my face on the windscreen. I'll put the link to the risers in the description down below. I think that's it. That's it, right? Yeah, that's it. If you found this video helpful, please like, subscribe, comment down below. Thanks everybody. Bye.